Derek back at the Naturopath. Thanks for coming back and checking out my channel. Let's talk a bit about adrenal function today, and more particularly about the role of cortisol and insulin, and also how sugar comes into it. So this will be quite an important video for people who are tired, people who've got adrenal fatigue, people who love eating sugary foods. I'll try and explain some of the concepts why refined carbohydrates are not a really good idea, and why grains aren't bad, whole grains. You know, you've got guys like Dr. McGundry walking around saying, eliminate grains, eliminate, nightshades, eliminate, but you can't go along eliminating all these foods all your life. But you can wise up to the fact that refined foods are no good, okay, and whole foods are far better. Probably the biggest reason, if we look at white flour, for example, the grains have just been stripped. All the essential nutrition is taken away from the grain. Wheat even contains vitamin B6 and magnesium, the whole wheat. But when we strip it down and take the starchy component and convert it into white flour and then donuts and crap like that, all we're doing is we're giving the body something that it can react on quickly to give us a very quick energy spike. But then over an hour's period, that energy will slowly go down because there's no further nutrition to sustain that energy. And then we crash. So a coffee and a donut in the morning is a bad idea, because basically all you're doing is you're putting your foot on the gas pedal really hard, and then you're letting it go again. You're not operating on cruise control. If you were to have a bowl of rolled oats in the morning, like I have, for example, more whole grain, that just, to me, is like keeping the foot on the throttle. You know, you're doing, 50, 60 mile an hour and you're cruising all morning. Instead of, doing 80, 90 mile an hour for 10, 20 minutes and then backing off going, oh, I'm exhausted. And for many people, there's this roller coaster that occurs. Coffee, donuts, and, all this kind of business through the day. Eating solid meals 2-3 times per day will negate that roller coaster. So the adrenal glands make many different hormones, including a very powerful hormone called cortisol. Our biggest anti-inflammatory hormone possibly is cortisol. It's a hugely potent hormone. It's a steroid hormone. It works in conjunction with insulin that the pancreas produces to give us energy. So insulin produced by the cells, only about a few % of the pancreas contains these small cells that produce this stuff or hormone called insulin. Insulin basically knocks on the door of the cell to open it up to allow the sugar to go in there, or the food for the cell to go in. That's what it does. It's one of the big roles of insulin, besides other roles. And cortisol, produced by the adrenals, is produced particularly in relationship to stress, but also low blood sugar. So when our blood sugar drops, cortisol is secreted into the bloodstream by the adrenals to initiate what we call gluconeogenesis, or basically, it's going to hit on the liver basically for food so it can break it down. So proteins and fats, different foods can get broken down into a sugar, which is initiated by cortisol. And then, of course, insulin comes in and regulates it. So it's a very beautiful system that works, a bit like how your car works. But we all know how some people get in an automobile and they just abuse that automobile. They trash it. They wear it out. In no time at all, the brakes are worn out. The engine's worn out. And this is very similar to what people do by not eating the right type of foods several times per day. They're trashing their adrenals. But on top of this, we live a life. We have people who pass away around us. We have awful things that occur in our daily life, like COVID, for example. We lose loved ones, we lose our ability to earn money, and all sorts of emotional crises occur, which push hard on our adrenal function, which stimulate the adrenals to make inappropriate amounts of cortisol. Inappropriate amounts. This leads to adrenal fatigue. I've seen this so many times in the clinic. I specialized in adrenal fatigue for over 10 years and learned quite well from Dr. James Wilson, who spent quite a few years here in New Zealand. And of course, James wrote Adrenal Fatigue. Dr. Wilson, in fact, coined the phrase adrenal fatigue. He's a very dear friend of mine who's taught me a tremendous amount about HPA dysfunction, the hypothalamus, pituitary, adrenal axis, or the stress axis. Stress kills more people than any other thing I've ever known, any type of disease or whatever. Stress just kills people, and it does it very slowly and insidiously by undermining their ability to produce energy, by undermining their immune function, by undermining their hormonal function. And the medical doctors laugh and scoff at this term. They think it's a joke. They say it's unproven science. But I can tell you from where I'm sitting, I've seen plenty of people recover, from many diseases once the adrenals were finally, worked on properly. When the patient finally understood the concept of what the adrenals are and how they can really build health up. When the penny finally drops, the person can see that and help to build adrenal health up. It's phenomenal how the health can change. So remember, the immune system is very intricately tied in with cortisol. Cortisol has a very big effect on many aspects of the body, and particularly the lymphocytes, how the lymphocytes or the white blood cells work. When cortisol, in fact, goes sky high, really high, with serious stress, it actually cripples white blood cells. It stops them even from being produced. But under the correct amount of precise control the cortisol can do, it can get your immune system working to a beautiful, high-functioning level where it's supposed to be. But stress, again, can inhibit all that. So really, when you look at stress, it's a sword with two sharp edges, isn't it? There's eustress, which is the good stress, and there's distress. So eustress is like what I'm doing now. It's a bit of a stress talking to you guys, Well, I don't see it as a stress, but many people see speaking as a stress. But distress is when you found out something really awful, bad news. So we don't really want to go there. But if we do get distressed, we want to recover. And that's what the healthy adrenal gland will do. It'll make us recover. But the devastating effects I see occur are when people have not much understanding, of soda drinks, refined carbohydrates, donuts, all these sort of junk foods. And then on top of that, they've got a high stress lifestyle. So this leads to accelerated aging and many chronic diseases. So don't forget, when you're tired, you need to rest up and also eat the correct type of foods. I've made many videos on this channel explaining things about, fiber, proteins and fats. And so please watch some more of my videos to understand why refined carbohydrates are not the best idea and why whole foods, particularly whole grains, and making the right choices as far as sweet foods is concerned, can give you so much more energy than you've already got, and such a powerful immune system, and such better sleep, and such better libido. All these things are influenced by adrenal glands. Small, powerful glands that sit on top of your kidneys that punch out almost 50 different hormones. We've got so far about 170 in the body, and the adrenals make close to 50 of those. So you can see how important they are. They're placed centrally in the body, right next to a very, very big artery, where they can really get the body working well. But if your life's working well, your diet's working well, you understand the adrenals, you can have an amazing life. Thanks for tuning in.